commodities since ancient times by the Egyptians, by the Assyrians, by the Persians, by the Macedonians, and many others. These precious resins make up what is believed to be the world's oldest global supply chain. Now, as many of you know, frankincense essential oil comes from the resin of frankincense trees. Resin tears, as we call them, or clumps of sap, which are carefully cleaned and sorted by grade before distillation. Our frankincense essential oil is a proprietary blend from 4 types of frankincense resin: Carterii, Peperifera, Feriana, and Sicra. These different frankincense trees, they thrive in different environments and in different types of soil. We source from multiple locations to ensure that we are harvesting resin from the environment where each variety of boswellia tree grows best, to ensure the best quality, purity, and sustainability. Over the years, we have worked to eliminate middlemen and brokers being at the source, or by being at the source really, and partnering with trusted individuals that care as much about the people that do the work as they do about making a profit themselves. This is an example of what we call pure business practice. Now, to begin with, most frankincense oil sold today is synthetically engineered. Many times it's not frankincense at all. Normally, the resin is harvested, sold to shopkeepers, who sell it to middlemen and consolidators, and eventually it arrives at a port for export. Historically and unfortunately, this system has long taken advantage of the poor or those living in the margins who harvest the frankincense and sort the frankincense tears, as we call them. They end up being paid very little, or just enough to sustain life for some of the hardest work that is done. Now, in 2014, Emily Wright and I traveled to Somalia, taken off in a small plane from Nairobi, Kenya at 2 a.m. in the morning. We were invited by one of the chief sultans to visit Somalia. Yes, I did say sultan. We flew into Bosaso, the main port city of Puntland at the time. I think they were all rather surprised that we actually showed up. So no one travels to Somalia unless they have to. In fact, it has a poor reputation even amongst most of its neighboring African countries. It is very hot and an arid country with temperature close to 130 degrees Fahrenheit the day that we arrived. Many people are desperately poor, and unfortunately there is much unrest, which has caused even more suffering among the innocent. Some would call it unwise to make such a trip, but we traveled there with pure intentions, not only in an effort to secure the needed resin to meet our growing demands, but also with a sincere desire to bless the lives of these people. Now, very important relationships and trust were developed on that first trip. But when we went to leave, it wasn't to be. The battery in our small airplane couldn't handle the incredible heat and had failed. We were stuck. Now, Emily Wright is one of the tougher women that I have known. I've seen her in many challenging situations, conditions around the world, but I captured this picture of Emily sitting on a small goatskin stool looking a little forlorn and wondering, I'm sure, if we were ever going to get out. Now, fortunately, the next morning, our Sultan friend was able to find an airplane mechanic who simply jump-started our engine, allowing us to leave. Now, we hoped we could fly far enough to get another battery, and because we knew we wouldn't be able to restart our engine again if it stopped. But fortunately, it all worked out. In 2015, we began funding the construction of warehouses to support our cooperative, which we built throughout the mountains to collect and sort the resins out where the frankincense actually grows. These warehouses help the cooperative function, organizing our harvesters into a network and providing many desperately needed jobs for women who sort the frankincense. This partnership has been a huge success, providing employment and security for those participating in our own frankincense supply chain. Many people who previously lived lives on the margins, who have now have economic means and a new hope for the future. And besides generous and consistent wages, our Compact sourcing initiatives are providing frankincense harvesters with on-time payments, including food and cash prepayments spread throughout the year, which helps a lot. So over the years, our commitment and relationships with our people in Somalia have grown very strong. In 2015, we completed the first school in Udawane with more than 200 children attending. 2016, we completed the second school at Childebert, also with more than 200 children attending. Now these schools, they operate 24/7, providing classes for adults in the evenings and adding learning to their lives as well. In 2017, we completed our first healthcare clinic in Timorish, bringing much needed healthcare to people of Puntland. And today, the majority of our frankincense resins are harvested primarily in what we call the Sanag region. And this area is home to approximately 1/3 of Somaliland's total population. Unfortunately, it is also home to one of the world's highest maternal and child mortality rates. Healthcare infrastructure in this area is virtually non-existent. In fact, the only option for quality care is over 12 hours away, a trip that few, if any, can afford. For this reason, most residents simply go without any professional health care at all. Now, I want to briefly share with you a little bit about our latest project, which I call the Miracle Project. 3 years ago, DoTERRA Healing Hands Foundation committed $3.2 million to help establish a regional hospital in partnership with our local frankincense cooperative. The mission was to create the highest quality, most trusted healthcare facility in all of Somaliland. Now this turned out to be more challenging than we ever thought. Now, while there have been numerous attempts to bring healthcare to this region by others, all attempts have failed to date. There are many reasons for this, among which are lack of proper financial support, lack of quality infrastructure, corruption, tribal conflict. This is a very challenging part of the world. Now, I wish I had time to share the detail and specific goals we established for this endeavor, but two of the primary goals were to measurably reduce child and infant mortality in the Sanag region, and secondly, become the most trusted healthcare provider by the community, the government, and donor partners. The latter objective will require effective community engagement and obviously outstanding performance. So, to achieve the mission objectives of the hospital, we needed the right partner. I'm proud to recognize ResponseMed as that partner. They're a remote site medical services provider with a very successful track record of supporting healthcare facilities across the East and Sub-Saharan Africa. The ResponseMed team includes specialists in the fields of community health, biomedical engineering, logistics, and project management. And their team of doctors and medical professionals are providing a wide range of support services for the Sanag Specialty Hospital project. So after many challenges, today construction of the hospital's 9 main structures is in its final stages. You can see the layout here. It includes a front office, administration department, accident and emergency department, outpatient, diagnostics, maternal, pediatric departments, operating facility, as well as the general services building. A number of qualified physicians and medical professionals have already been identified to fill the core staffing positions. And Dr. Ahmed, the former regional health director for Somaliland, will lead our community outreach efforts and services. So soon we'll be able to begin an international search for a qualified hospital director. So again, this facility will serve a population of nearly 500,000 people. I love the saying among the team members working on this project, babies by Christmas. Now in closing, when I think back on 2008, it was the beginning of doTERRA. It was also the beginning of a significant recession here in the United States. I remember the sense of fear and doubt that pervaded and would often try to enter my heart. We held on to hope, trying not to allow space for the fear to set in. I'm sure that there are many here today who could share similar experiences of that time. As I've traveled the world the past decade or more now, and have met so many of you and learned that doTERRA means different things to different people, it provides a trusted vehicle that empowers others to discover and develop their purpose for being. It helps them see that they have value. It helps them discover their why and something worth working for. Every human being has infinite worth and potential, don't they? The greatest leaders in doTERRA know this, and they become obsessed with helping others define and free it in themselves. Sure, we're united by the same products and opportunity, and often many of the same causes. However, the best companies in the world have a reason for existing that transcends the thing that they sell. doTERRA is in, as we mentioned earlier, the empowerment business. And the essential oils are the perfect vehicle. Everything we do is designed to empower someone. We empower farmers to flourish. We empower financial goals to be achieved. We empower healing to be found. We've done this from the beginning through a relentless pursuit of purity. We must have pure essential oils. We insist on pure business practices. We know that our intentions must always remain pure. And we want to do this through a pure love of humanity. This pursuit is never ending. This pursuit is never easy, because the right way is almost always the hard way. We never cut corners, because cutting corners can impact purity, and purity is the only way to truly sustain lasting empowerment. Good news is, we're not alone. And when the power of many come together to form the power of one, the impact for good will exceed all expectations. It cannot be measured, and it cannot be stopped. Each of you are creative, you're passionate, but mostly you're good. That ripple effect, that ripple of good will run throughout the world, pushing back the darkness and the despair and allowing light and hope to take its place. And the world is healed once again.
Amen.